distinguished guests, faculty, Arthur Kroger staff, and fellow graduates. My name is Sancho Angulo, and I'm pleased to deliver the Valedictory address for the Public Affairs and Policy Management class of 2020 here at Carleton University. Before I begin, I want to take a moment to recognize that while we are apart, many of us are gathered here virtually from all parts of Turtle Island. We recognize that on the land on which we learn, work, and live, Indigenous peoples, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit have been here for millennia before us and will continue to be. We acknowledge in particular that Carleton's campus lies on the traditional territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. We know we are but guests on this land, and that the path to forging a better Canada lies in working in full partnership with Indigenous peoples. When I think about our present moment, the last stanza in Robert Frost's prolific The Road Not Taken comes to mind. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. For most of us, we've never had the challenge of living through such a difficult, unpredictable time. We are perhaps the first cohort in more than a century to graduate into a world so in need of healing. As the threat of a lethal virus swept across the globe, we saw firsthand life as we knew it come loose from its moorings. In the span of a week, our classrooms, workplaces, and community spaces emptied out, all to protect ourselves, our loved ones, and our most vulnerable from the heavy toll this virus could bring. All of this came to a head at a time meant for eager anticipation, just as we had embarked on the final leg of what has been a long marathon. As we think back to how we got here, many of us can reflect on how these last few years have changed us for the better. They shaped us into better people, exposed us to different perspectives, encouraged us to step outside our comfort zones, and empowered us with the tools in our arsenal to make meaningful change in the world around us. Along the way, we've been uplifted by the unyielding support of professors, staff, teaching assistants, and fellow students who have not only driven us to aim high, but to be our best at every step of the way. Indeed, what is so beautiful about this class is that we saw each other's success as our own. While we were headstrong and determined, it never stopped us from showing kindness and compassion to one another. Whether it was hastily preparing a shared Google Doc ahead of an exam, or spending long hours overspent with caffeine, writing out the final passages of a term paper in the library, we were there for one another, and that kept us together, and that kept us going. When we entered this program, many of us came on that first day of academic orientation with certain assumptions about the world, the first of which being that we were the Oxford of the North, or the cream of the crop, to paraphrase the words of a certain former director. We still are, by the way. Over these years, we witnessed the world transform in ways we thought unimaginable, and those assumptions seemingly wither away. We saw a rules-based international order come under serious threat. We have seen polarization become more prominent in our politics. We have seen the pace of climate change and the existential threat it brings accelerate while global leadership seems unwilling to do much of anything. But not all of these changes are so dire. We have seen the unheard rise up louder and stronger than ever. We have heard cries of injustice reverberate in our communities and across the world, met with a hunger for real, lasting solutions to problems with deep roots in the past. As students of our craft, we are keenly aware that the art of policymaking cannot be easily severed from the thread of history. We understand that the problems we see in our communities, our country, and the world are intertwined with the decisions of the past and those who made them. Their legacies echo through the generations and continue to be felt sharply today by those who decision makers of the past sought to abandon at the margins of society. If we return to the beginning of this nation, its solemn promise was for peace, order, and good government. It seems so easy to be held in our grasp, but for so many before us, and many today, it has and continues to be out of reach. So we must ask ourselves, What peace is there where there is no justice? What order is there where there is no justice? What good government really is there where there is no injustice? For if our founding promise is to truly come about for all of us, it begins with the mighty pursuit of justice to which all of us must be a part of. We owe not only our children, but the people we look to serve to be part of that pursuit. With all the knowledge we have gathered and yet to gather, we have the prime opportunity to transform our systems and institutions to include everyone. And as we are told that we could very well be remembered as the class that never got to walk, that saw its chance to celebrate taken away if only for a brief moment, it is my firm hope that we are instead remembered as the class that took the first step in building the world anew. There is no doubt that we are venturing into a world that is uncertain and unpredictable. That, however, should and must not scare us. We ought to realize, as the great Leonard Cohen wrote, that there is a crack in everything. That is how the light gets in. Our most important task as graduates is not to merely accept the world as it is, but to be beacons for its betterment. Beacons can illuminate dark spaces. They can guide our path through treacherous waters. The light we can bring to the world is what answers hatred with love, injustice with truth, and conflict with peace. That is the very least we can do. To my fellow graduates, I salute you and bid you every success to come.